Welcome to LyFiveElements, where we're dedicated to sharing the wisdom of traditional Chinese metaphysics with the world. Our mission is to teach complex subjects like the four pillars of destiny, also known as Bazi, Qi Feng Shui, and more, in simple, easy to understand English. Subscribe and share our content to help spread this ancient knowledge. Your support is what drives us forward. We also offer personalized one-on-one consultations to guide you on your metaphysical journey. Feel free to leave a comment or contact us directly for more information. Thank you for being part of our community. Hello everyone, I'm Marvin. Welcome to the intermediate course, a detailed explanation of the 6 harms and 6 breaks of the earthly branches. The relationships among the earthly branches are very complex. Earlier, we shared that the earthly branches include 3 meetings, 3 combinations, 6 combinations, as well as the 3 punishments and the 6 clashes. Today we will continue by discussing the 6 harms and the 6 breaks. There are 6 groups of 6 harms among the earthly branches. 子未、丑午、寅巳、卯辰、申亥 and 酉戌. Why do these 6 harm relationships arise? They are closely related to the interactions of the 6 clashes and 6 combinations. Let's use an example. Si and Shen form a combination and transform into water. Meanwhile, Si and Hai are in a clash, right? Because the relationship between Si and Shen is harmonious. When Hai water clash with Si, Shen becomes displeased. As a result, Shen and Hai form a harm relationship. This is why Shen and Hai harm each other. Similarly, Si and Shen are in a combination, while Yin and Shen are in a clash. When Yin clashes with Shen, Si becomes displeased because Si and Shen have a close relationship. Therefore, Yin and Si form a harm relationship. By the same logic, the following relationships work the same way. Chen and You combine and transform into metal. Mao clashes with You. When Mao goes to clash with You, Chen becomes displeased and therefore harms Mao. This is why Mao and Chen form a harm relationship. Likewise, Chen and You combine to form metal, and we know that Chen clashes with Xu. When this happens, You and Xu develop a conflict, and thus form a harm relationship. This is one way to understand it. You can think of it like this. Shen and Si are a pair of close friends. When someone else, Yin, comes along and clashes with Shen, even attacking Shen, naturally, Si would not accept this and would try to harm Yin. Therefore, Yin and Si form a harm relationship. Understanding it this way makes it much easier to remember. Everyone needs to understand the energetic relationships involved, as well as the magnitude of the events they manifest. The meaning of harm refers to persecution or injury. It represents a type of conflict that is difficult to reconcile. Because the two sides are incompatible, tension arises and one side seeks to harm the other. Events associated with this type of harm tend to manifest quickly, but they are not particularly fierce or violent in nature. How should we understand this? The 3 punishments are heavenly punishments. If a person encounters the 3 punishments and they are triggered by major luck cycles or annual luck, it may lead to illness, imprisonment, traffic accidents, or other forms of punishment. In severe cases, it can even result in death. The 6 clashes represent conflicts between people. They indicate confrontations that do not end until one side is completely eliminated. In severe cases, they can even result in death. The 6 harms represent deceit, scheming and mutual struggle, each side competing and harming the other. They do not usually result in death. At their most, they may lead to injury or disability. Let's look at Bazi case. In this chart, the year branch contains 4 fire, and the hour branch contains Shen metal. 4 and Shen combine to form water, while Yin, 4, Shen constitute the 3 punishments. When determining a critical life or death period in a person's life, we then continue to examine the subsequent developments. Let's look at what happens when he reaches 70 years old. He enters the Ji major luck cycle. And 2058 is the Wu Yin year. This forms the Yin Si Shen 3 punishments. Therefore, it is very likely that this particular year represents a life and death crisis. Experiencing punishments before the age of 36 is usually relatively manageable, but after 36, the impact becomes extremely severe. This is why the 3 punishments are considered the most serious. As for the 6 clashes, they also represent conflicts between people, where the struggle does not end until one side is eliminated. In severe cases, this too can result in death. Now let's look at another Bazi case. In this Bazi chart, the day pillar is Ji Wei, and the year pillar is Yi Chou. Chou and Wei clash, and the year stem, Yi, is the 7 killings to the day master. This configuration is known as heavenly stem control and earthly branch clash. We know that the day pillar represents the person themselves. Every day pillar has corresponding enemy configuration within the 60 light cycles. There is always a counterpart that acts as an adversary. Even if someone's natal chart does not originally contain a heavenly stem control and earthly branch clash, in the major luck cycles or annual cycles, the day master encounters 7 killings or a clash, and the day branch is also clashed. A heavenly stem control and earthly branch clash combination will inevitably form. When that year arrives, it is typically used to judge life and death crises or major disasters. In this chart, the year pillar and day pillar form a heavenly stem control and earthly branch clash. As we discussed in the previous lesson on the 6 clashes, people with such a configuration are prone to early death or severe misfortune during adolescence. This person unfortunately passed away in 2012. Let's take a closer look. The hour stem, Ding, fire combines with the annual stem, Ren, water, forming Ding and Ren combination into wood. This wood is also the 7 killings to the day master Ji, earth. The earthly branch Chen in the major luck cycle meets the Chen of the annual branch, forming Chen Chen self-punishment. Within the hidden stems of the Chen earth are Wu earth, Yi wood, and Gui water, again containing 7 killings, which further intensifies the 7 killings energy. Therefore, he passed away in 2012 at the age of 27. This shows that comparatively speaking, punishments and clashes are more severe. When severe, they can result in death. As for harm, It represents social deception, scheming, and struggles with people undermining one another. Generally, this does not lead to death. At its most serious, it may manifest as physical injury or disability. Compared with the 3 punishments and 6 clashes, the 6 harms are much weaker in force. That's all you need to understand here. The earthly branches also have a relationship called the 6 bricks. 子酉、辰丑、寅亥、卯午、巳申, and 未戌. The meaning of break includes destruction, bankruptcy, sabotage, and a complete fallout in relationships. The 6 bricks are very weak in force, at most manifesting as arguments or minor conflicts between friends. So it's enough just to be aware of them. In my own practice of judging events for people, I generally do not place much emphasis on the 6 bricks because their influence is too small. Still, it is a knowledge point everyone should understand. When 6 bricks manifest, the events are not serious as their impact is the weakest. Among these are the 2 special pairs. 四声, which is also a 6 combination, forming water, and 寅亥, which is also a 6 combination forming wood. These 2 pairs are both 6 combinations and 6 bricks. Classical texts do not explain why this is so. After accumulating many real cases, I found that these 2 pairs represent a very subtle relationship. They are both breaking and combining at the same time. Typically, this manifests as 2 people who argue and fall out when they are together, yet miss each other once they separate. They are a kind of love-hate pair. These 2 pairs are quite special, and it's enough to simply know about them. I wouldn't go into much detail on the 6 bricks because they rarely lead to significant events. The matters they indicate are very minor, so there's no need to worry too much about them. The event manifestations between the palaces under 6 harms and 6 bricks are basically the same as those of the 6 clashes. The only difference lies in the strength of their impact, whether it is a year-month break or month-day break. The logic is essentially the same as what we discussed in the previous lesson, just with different levels of force. As I emphasized earlier, the most severe outcomes of the 3 punishments and 6 clashes can result in death. The 6 harms are at most involve situations where others harm you or you harm others. Even in their most serious form, they usually lead only to injury or physical impairment, not death. Their power is much weaker. The 6 bricks generally indicate arguments and at worst a physical fight, so it's important to remember this hierarchy of energies. The energy of the 3 punishments is stronger than that of the 6 clashes. The 6 clashes are much stronger than the 6 harms. The 6 harms are stronger than the 6 bricks, and the 6 bricks have the weakest influence. At this point, some of you may feel a bit overwhelmed. That's all right. Just remember this key framework. We know that the earthly branches can be classified into combinations, clashes, bricks, harms, and punishments. Later on, we'll build on these concepts and walk through real cases together, and your understanding will gradually become clearer. The 6 harms and 6 bricks have no impact on the energy or pattern of a person's Bazi chart. They only manifest as events. We know that the 6 clashes can knock one of the elements away, thereby changing the chart's energy and possibly even altering its overall structure. However, the 6 bricks and 6 harms do not affect the chart's energy or structure. They only bring about specific events. The 6 clashes can sometimes also bring good outcomes when a favorable element is clashed. It is unfavorable and indicates misfortune. But when an unfavorable element is clashed, it becomes a good thing. Among the 10 gods, if one of the 4 major auspicious stars is clashed, it signals negative events, whereas if one of the 4 major inauspicious stars is clashed, it can indicate positive outcomes. This is why the 6 clashes can sometimes be beneficial. In contrast, the 6 harms and 6 breaks generally do not bring good events. Fortunately, their power is relatively weak, so they rarely lead to anything serious. When we later discuss car accidents or illnesses, the analysis is mainly centered on the 3 punishments and 6 clashes. Events indicated by the 6 harms and 6 breaks are usually minor. When 2 pillars are adjacent and close, their interaction is stronger, and the nature of the 6 breaks and 6 harms becomes more pronounced. When the pillars are separated and further apart, the force weakens, but the essence of harm and break still remains. There is also the question of who wins and who loses. In the natal chart, when examining harm or break relationships, we must look at the state of the month ruler. The side that receives support from the month ruler has stronger energy. The month ruler governs the overall energy of the entire Bazi chart. When we access the strength of the day master, we calculate it primarily based on the month ruler. When 2 characters in other palaces are in conflict, the month ruler also influences both sides. If the month ruler supports one side, that side's energy becomes stronger, and in cases of harm or break, the other pillar will be injured more severely. If the month ruler itself harms or breaks another palace, that other palace will inevitably suffer more seriously, because the month ruler carries the greatest power. This is easy to understand. The side supported by the month ruler naturally has greater strength. When 2 earthly branches harm or break each other, and the 2 heavenly stems also clash, the resulting disaster is relatively severe. In the case we mentioned earlier, the heavenly stem also encountered 7 killings and clashed, while the earthly branches were clashing as well. This is why it was judged as a life and death crisis, a very serious outcome. Compared with situations where only the earthly branches are in harm or break, having both branches and stems clashing makes the disaster much more severe. There are also cases of 2 harming 1 or 3 harming 1, where the majority overpowers the minority. In such situations, one side is injured much more seriously, which again comes down to the punishment of who wins and who loses. Among punishments, clashes, breaks, and harms, the most dangerous situation is when the day branch or the hour branch is injured, because the day branch and hour branch represent the middle and later stages of life. A person's vitality rises before the age of 36, but after 36 it begins to decline. After the age of 36, all adverse manifestations become more severe, including those from the 3 punishments and 6 clashes. If 3 punishments or 6 clashes occur before 36, the impact is usually not too serious. What is most concerning is encountering 3 punishments, 6 clashes, 6 harms, or 6 breaks after 36, because their energy is amplified. The age of 36 marks a midline in life. Energy keeps rising until it reaches its peak, and after 36 it declines. This applies to physical vitality and overall energy. That is why all adverse events after 36 tend to be heavier and more serious. Once everyone understands the relationships of combination, clash, break, harm, and punishment, it is important to avoid punishments, clashes, breaks, and harms when selecting dates for major events. For example, when choosing a date for childbirth, be sure that the child's Bazi does not contain punishments, clashes, breaks, or harms. Having too many of this in a child's chart is not favorable. Likewise, for events such as opening a shop or starting a company, if you choose a 6 break or 6 harm day and combine it with your own chart for the opening, it is likely to be inauspicious. The same applies to wedding date selection. If a 6 break day is chosen for marriage, the couple may argue on the wedding day itself. If a 6 harm day is chosen, it may indicate that someone comes to disrupt the wedding. Without a good beginning, it is easy for the relationship to lack a good ending. Therefore, date selection is a very important knowledge point in the study of Chinese metaphysics. The core principle is simple. When choosing dates for major events, always avoid punishments, clashes, breaks, and harms. By the time you reach this point in your study, you may gradually understand a deeper principle. Society itself is a vast energy field. You will naturally meet people who get along well with you because your Bazi and theirs form combinations or transformations. The energy created by these combinations is beneficial to both sides, which is why you become close friends. On the other hand, if you dislike someone the moment you see them, it is because your Bazi charts do not harmonize. How do they not harmonize? It is because your earthly branches and theirs, or your heavenly stems and theirs, form relationships of punishment, clash, break, or harm. That is why you feel incompatible with them. You will also encounter people who are willing to help you. For example, your heavenly E nobleman represents such helpers. If someone's earthly branches contain your heavenly E nobleman, then when you meet that person, they are naturally inclined to assist you. This is simply how society works. As you meet more people and analyze more Bazi charts, you will come to understand that relationships between people arise from the energy dynamics between them. Once you engage with society, it is almost inevitable that you will end up harming others at times. In many cases, hurting someone is not truly your fault. It is often caused by the Bazi energy interaction between the two of you. It is often unintentional, so there's no need to dwell on it too heavily. Who can honestly say they have never harmed another person in their lifetime? As we live in this world, love, hate, and emotional entanglements are all part of life. You hurt others and others hurt you, and gradually you see through it all. When others harm you, try not to be overly angry and avoid holding hatred toward them. Hatred only brings suffering to yourself. At the same time, you must cultivate your own heart and mind and avoid thoughts of harming others. When you harm others, both sides are injured. Moreover, if you harm others repeatedly, you will eventually face punishment. For now, just familiarize yourself with these key concepts. Later on, we will focus on many practical case studies. Conceptual explanation can feel dry and abstract. If anything is unclear, feel free to read it several times. Don't miss out. Hit subscribe and share to join us on this incredible journey of discovery. Your support fuels our passion to keep creating. Any questions or need personalized guidance? Leave us a comment or get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being part of the LyFiveElements family. If anything is unclear, feel free to drop a comment below. I would love to discuss and explore these topics with you. And for those of you who want to understand your Bazi chart but find the learning process too complicated, you can always message me for a one-on-one consultation. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Your support truly motivates me to keep sharing this knowledge. See you in the next lesson.